Hi, and welcome back. We're back to learning Mishnah Shabbat. We're in chapter 7, Mishnah 4, Daled. And last time we talked about how in order to be liable for the biblical violation of carrying from one domain to another, it needs to be both a quantity and quality of something that people would typically store. So we'll see that play out. We're going to give a lot of different quantities of different things and that have to be useful, and what their shiur, what the measurement is for that thing to be make one liable. Hamotzi tevin kimilofi fara, etze kimilofi gamal, amir kimilofi tale, asavim kimilofi gedi. So one who takes out straw as much as a cow's mouthful, bean straw as much as a camel's mouthful, straw of ears of grain as much as a lamb's mouthful, grass as much as a kid's mouthful. Ale shum va'ale vetzalim lachim kigrogeret yeveshim kimelofi gedi. Leaves of garlic or onion if they are fresh, the equivalent of a dried fig if they are dry as much as if they are fresh as the equivalent of a dried fig if they are dry as much as a kid's mouthful. So this has to do with the amount of each of these things that's useful, and specifically if it's something that's animal food, it has these different varied measures, and something that's considered food for people. So the one that we compare to dried fig, that's the measure for human food, which would be the same for different foods. Ve'ein mitzrafin ze im ze mipnei shelo shavu b'shirehen. And they cannot be combined, these different things, because they are not like in their prescribed measures. So that because there's different measures that makes one liable for these different things, you can't say a half of and a half of this equals a whole. It doesn't work that way when there's different amounts for them. Hamotzi al-chalim kigrogeret chayav. So when it takes out food, the equivalent of a dried fig is liable. So that food is comparable, human food, as opposed to these other things that we mentioned, which we're going to say now. So, and you could add the different amounts of this much of this food and this much of this food, but together they equal a dried fig. That would be a problem if they're both food consumed by humans. Chutz, so except, we're going to have some exceptions to this. Miklipehen, v'garinehen, v'uktsehen, v'suban, umursanan. So excluding the shells, pits, stems, coarse bran, and their fine bran. So the parts of it that aren't actually consumed, that are gotten rid of, and then you eat the food from, those parts aren't going to add up into your shear and what makes one liable, because it's not considered food. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, chutz miklipei adashim, shemit bashlot imahen. Except for the shells of lentils, Rabbi Yehuda says, which are cooked with them. So because those are cooked with them and part of the food afterwards, even though they're a type of shell, they're excluded from this other list of shells and things like that that are excluded from the measure. So essentially these things, like the shells of lentils, Rabbi Yehuda is saying would count towards the measure because they are a part of the food inevitably. They do become, you cook them with the lentil themselves. Okay, that's the end of chapter 7, so we'll stop there and we'll begin chapter 8 next time. Thank you so much for joining, and wish everyone well and have a good week.